Hello, and thank you for joining us here for Cherry Blossom Home Edition. The Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival takes place every year, the last weekend of April, here in Marshfield, Missouri. And it's our mission to preserve American history and to present it in a unique and interesting way. This year, due to the pandemic, we have moved our festival online and hope that you will enjoy the interviews and panels that we have in store for you. Our next presenter has received the Cherry Blossom Medal and has taken on, as I've mentioned already, so many different roles at the Cherry Blossom Festival. Joseph Yakovetic will be interviewing another Cherry Blossom Medal winner, Morgan Brittany, and I know that you're going to enjoy their conversation.
Today we're going to talk with Morgan Brittany. And Morgan Brittany started off as Suzanne Capito, a child actress. So Morgan, you want to say hello?
Hello, hello, hello. So this is the Cherry Blossom Festival for this year, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hey, listen, you gotta get inventive, right, Joe?
That's right. And leave it to Nicholas to do that.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. This is great.
Well, you started off as a child actress, and how old were you when you started?
I was about 5 years old, so I started in 1956, and things were a lot different back then. But I ended up spending about 50 some odd years as a working actress, and retired a little while ago because Hollywood, it was just not the same place that it was when I was working a lot. And so, yeah, I got a lot of great memories, worked with a lot of great people, and yeah, it's been quite a life, huh?
Yes. Well, Eleanor Donahue said that when she worked with Ron Howard, she was impressed with that he was just a natural kid, and that she gave credit to his parents for letting him be a kid. And she was not allowed that as a child growing up in the business. So I was curious, how would you respond to that? Were you allowed to be a kid?
Oh no. I was literally your definition of a trained little puppet, little animal, basically. I was, from the minute that they were able to put me in the business, I was sent to acting classes, dance classes, singing classes, modeling classes. I did auditions every day. I was not allowed to play with other children, didn't really go to school like a normal child, was expected to learn my lines and do my job and not mess up, and basically couldn't really go out and play for fear that I would get hurt or fall down, or somehow, the money would stop if I got hurt. So my life was a lot like a lot of child actors.
Okay.
Ronnie was extremely fortunate. His family was very much, what you would call just a normal family that kind of got into this position. I know his dad had a really good attitude, rants, and Clint, his brother, that he even got to be a normal kid. But if you think about it, Ronnie was in a protected environment with the Andy Griffith Show, because when I did the Andy Griffith Show, it was like a family. It was, you weren't really going to work. You were going with a bunch of people who just were doing their job and having a great time, and there was really no stress, and it was very enjoyable. So I understand why Ron was in that atmosphere for so long, and he had the best of all worlds, because he wasn't a freelance actor, had to go on auditions all the time and had to face rejection all the time. And that's why I think he's so balanced, and it really is raising his own kids the same way.
So I could see then, when you get to the point where you're not maybe as marketable,
Mhm.
your turning point, that what did, what happened?
Yeah, that's tough because I worked consistently as a child actress from the time I was 5. I mean, Gypsy, The Birds, Marnie, Yours, Mine, and Ours, and every TV show you can imagine, every commercial product, from toys to Barbies to, you name it. I was always working. And Yours, Mine, and Ours, I was about 15 and a half when I did that. And I was growing up. I was not this cute little kid anymore. And after Yours, Mine, and Ours was over, everything kind of dried up in the way of auditions because I wasn't old enough. I wasn't over 18, so I couldn't work as an adult. I wasn't cute enough to be a cute little kid anymore. And there was a real big issue with adolescents. They really would hire someone who looked young to play 13, 14, 15, but they were 18 or 19.
Hours and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so everything kind of dried up for me. Now, in my position, I was the support of my family for all those years, and to have your life suddenly change and suddenly you're back to school with kids that you're way beyond their years because you've been in the workforce and dealt with everything, made money, everything. I mean, it was so alien to me to live like that in that world, and I was completely. I didn't know what to do with myself.
What grade did you have to go back into school with then?
I was in high school. I went to high school, I was 14, 15, and I went back to school because basically my education on the set was very hit and miss.
Right.
I'd be gone for 10 weeks. I mean, that's most of the semester. And then I'd try to pick up a little bit in public school, but it was never anything consistent. So I had a really bad adolescence, a few years, because I felt like I was a failure to my family, where I wasn't bringing in any income, and we had no income, and it was so much stress. And I got to a point in my life at about 17 where I just was contemplating, the worst you can imagine. And that's when my faith, which I've always had, my faith took over and kicked in and got me back on my feet, because I literally was on the floor one night and prayed to God, please give me an answer in the morning. And he did. He did. I knew exactly when I woke up. I knew exactly what I had to do. I knew what I needed to do. And it was, I just will never forget it. And from that day forward, my instincts have always been, when I'm having to make a decision, I leave it to God and I say, please, guide me the right way, send me on the right road, and he does.
What was it that you woke up with?
Well, I realized at that point that I wasn't a kid actor anymore, and that as soon as I got my graduation, my diploma, which I got out early in school, that when I was able to, I would take what little money I had and, get a job and do something. And I ended up doing a show with Gene Kelly in Las Vegas as a dancer in Las Vegas. I was barely 18. In fact, they kept saying, are you going to be 18 by this month? And I said, yes, I will. And so they started me in that show. And I worked in Vegas to make some money, because I had a plan that I would go to New York to try to start over. And I started over, and I shed my old name, Suzanne Capito, that I had used all those years in the business and built a resume and reputation. I threw that all out, became somebody new. When I had the money and the Gene Kelly show was over, I went to New York. I moved to New York, and I just started over as a newbie.
And how did you come up with the name?
The name came, I was a big romance novel fan, Southern romance novels, and I used to go to secondhand bookstores and buy whatever books I could buy, for 25 cents. And I had this book that I had picked up called Flood Tide by Frank Yerby, and it was a Southern romance novel. And I remember when I was getting on the plane to go to New York, didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go. I had that book with me, and I opened it up on the plane, and the very first page said Morgan Brittany was mistress of such and such a plantation. And I went, wow, that is an awesome name. And I said, I think that's who I'm going to be. And, we're talking 1970, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so back then, you could change your name if you wanted and become someone different, and there was no internet, and there was no paper trails, there was nothing. So I literally became Morgan Brittany and opened a bank account, and, it was no big deal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can't do that today. So that's what I did, and I left my past behind, and I didn't really bring it back up again. I wasn't going to bring it back up again, but, somebody found out about me once I started working a lot in the late 70s, early 80s, and they went, you look a lot like a kid actor that used to be around back in the 60s, And, when the press found out about that, of course, that's their hook to write interviews and go, oh, guess who she used to be, So it was kind of an interesting thing, but I don't know. It was a crazy, crazy life.
And did you ever encourage your kids to get in the business?
I did not encourage them. my kids, they love to do the stuff their dad did, which was stunts. They liked, crashing bicycles and riding motorcycles and doing all kinds of stuff. So as little kids, once in a while, Jack would say, "Oh, I've got this little thing, would you like to do it?" But as acting or whatever, I did not encourage it. And I always said to my daughter, because she wanted to do it, she wanted to perform, and I said, Katie, when you're old enough and you really understand what is entailed in this business, if you really want to do it, I'd rather you waited till you were 18 and made your own decision. And basically, she did that. She decided when she turned 18 that she wanted to be a model and she wanted to try the business. But boy, I was right there next to her the whole time. I knew everything she was doing, every casting director she went to see, every audition. She took my advice, which was so amazing. She would always call me and say, Mom, I'm not sure about this. What do you think about this? And if I said, no, this is not a good move, she would back away from it. And
good for her.
Yeah, Katie's always been like that. And she's got a nice resume. She's done everything straightforward. And, I told her, because I've told a lot of kids, I do acting seminars at colleges, and I talk to young performers, and so many of them have stars in their eyes, and they think they're going to go to Hollywood, and it's just they're going to be famous, and I tell them like it is. I tell them the truth, which a lot of people hesitate to do.
Yeah. And
my basic piece of advice to them is stay true to yourself, stay true to who you are. And if anybody promises you anything, you take that with a grain of salt, because they will tell you anything to get you to do what they want. And the minute they're done with you, they're done with you. And, you know, a lot of these kids, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, and I said, but if you are true to who you are and you have a foundation and you have a family that is strong behind you, that's going to help you and you can get where you want to be. You may have to go in certain doors and out other doors, and it won't be a straight shot, but you'll get it the way you want to get it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I've seen so many people just, oh my gosh, Joe, it's tragic, especially with kid actors. It's
I
tragic.
watched an interview with Cher last night, and
Yeah.
she made the comment that if this is what you want, you sacrifice whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
how sad.
It is. It is sad. And yet that's how they justify their life and who they are.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not true. I mean, I have had the most wonderful career in my, you know, my feeling. Maybe I didn't win an Academy Award or whatever,
Right.
but what I've done and my body of work and the people I've worked with and the experiences I've had, I can look back on that and say, wow, that was amazing. What an amazing opportunity I had. And I did it the way I wanted to do it. I didn't sell out. I got out when I felt I needed to. I closed the door on it when I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you don't
You have to compromise your integrity.
No, and you don't. That's the whole point. They try to make you do it. I mean, it's almost like all these Hollywood folks that are they're like little satans out there. They're in your ear all the time telling you, oh babe, I can make you famous. Oh my gosh, if you do this, if you do Playboy, if you do blah, 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 yeah, I'm going to make you a star, you know, and you're bombarded with that all the time, and it is so enticing and so tempting. It's like politics, Joe. It's
Sure.
the same thing. They'll
Right.
sell their soul to get power.
Mm-hmm. So how does, I know you've been involved with Paul Peterson a lot with A Minor Consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Have they been able to make any strides in protecting children?
Oh, I'll tell you something. It is a constant battle. Paul has done, you know, he had this organization started before I got involved with it, and he is the most incredible guy. He goes to Sacramento, he lobbies for children's rights, he fights for the, you know, the kids in the entertainment business. I mean, it's so bizarre how in California there are no child labor laws that protect children in entertainment. Can you believe that?
I know
They're
that they passed.
They're exempt. They're
Yeah.
basically exempt. They can do whatever they want to, and people look the other way. So Paul and I remember, you know, when I first got involved with it, he got me started with Dakota Fanning, and she
Mhm.
was about 13 years old doing a movie called Hound Dog in North Carolina. And a crew member called Minor Consideration and said, there's a problem here. I can't work. I quit on this show because of what they're doing to her.
Wow.
And it was literally, you know, here's an underage girl who's 13 or 14, and she's doing rape scenes with a guy and over and over all day long. She's doing, you know, suggestive dancing, all this kind of stuff. And he said he got sick to his stomach, and you know, her parents are looking for, oh, this is going to win her an Oscar, you
Right.
know. And so we were on all kinds of shows. I mean, Paul would go do interviews. I do interviews. I went on. That was the first time I ever went on Hannity's show on Fox talking about it, and how it was just, you know, trying to protect these kids is such a nightmare, because a lot of times the parents are they want the money so badly, and they want the fame so badly, not necessarily for their kids, but for themselves.
How much?
And
How much money what percentage are the parents supposed to put aside for the children?
Oh, it's terrible. It's like 15%. That's it. And the
Right.
parents, and they can spend the rest of it.
Right.
So yeah, you have a Coogan account only if you're on a TV series, or I'm not sure what the laws are now, but when I was working, you had to be on a television series in order to get that.
Yeah.
But a parent can make themselves their kid's manager,
Right.
which is what Macaulay Culkin's dad did.
So
And then he's in charge of all the money and all the decisions, and then, you know, Mac is just, like I said, a little puppet.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of children are completely, their lives are just, when they grow up, they just don't know what to do, you know.
Yeah. I was surprised. I thought that the Jackie Coogan law had protected kids more. And then I see that, like, Shirley Temple, when she became, 21, she found out she had like $40,000 in the bank.
Yeah, I know.
That's all
I
they
know.
kept for her. And they went
Yeah.
through millions of dollars.
That's right. That's right. And you hear it, you hear it over and over and over. I know Paul recently, he got money for someone that was on a television series, and they didn't even know that, because the parents were trying to hide it. And this guy finally got his money, and I think he got over $1 million. But it was, I mean, it's just tragic. I mean,
Well, you left with nothing, right?
yeah, I had nothing. I mean, basically all of my money was spent to support the family. So it was tough. I mean, when I started over, I started over. And
Sure.
that was from ground up,
Having like a celebrity status, if you would, what have been how has that been effective in your in pursuing other activities, or has it been ineffective? Is it a good thing or a bad thing, or how have you been able to use that?
It's actually great. It opens a lot of doors for you. I know in the 80s, every person that was on a TV series or was high profile, charities wanted the face of someone to represent their charity. And I actually, at the time, I had raised money for March of Dimes and was a national spokesperson and all that kind of stuff. But it is, I mean, you can do a lot of good with your name but the way it's become now is, I think a lot of celebrities, they lend their name, but they want to be compensated for it. Mm-hmm. So it isn't just they don't work for a charity and donate their time.
But
they
now,
want
do people take you more seriously, or do they think, oh, you're an actress, what do you know?
No, they do, and there is an awful lot of. It's funny because it's almost like celebrities in this country are like royalty. It's so bizarre. And having grown up as a kid actor and then hit the bottom and become absolutely nobody, and they don't even answer your phone calls anymore, you realize how quickly that goes away. And then to be elevated up to that status again, you're kind of going, okay, now I know this isn't going to last. So, you get prepared for it. But so many people do not prepare themselves for it. So many people think that they are royalty and that they can dictate their ideas to everybody else, and everybody should listen to them when they know nothing. And, you just kind of shake your head and think, people, just chill. Take it easy. You're not that important. Really, you're not.
Yeah.
It's got its moments. I mean, yes, but you have to think about it. You have to think, like, when you're going all over the world and you're meeting dignitaries and all this, they just want a photo with you. They don't care about you. They just want that photo to hang in their office or their palace or wherever they are to say, oh, look who I was with.
Right.
So you really don't mean anything to these people. And you have to understand when you walk away, I'm not that important. I'm just important for the moment because I happen to be on a hit television show. But that's not going to last forever. So you have to have a foundation for yourself and who you are, and you've got to find your own center and your own life so that you can live day to day and enjoy everything and give of yourself. If people never said to me for the rest of my life, oh, I remember you from that show, and they just treated me like a normal human being, that's awesome. I love that. I think it's great. And all of my friends, I mean, practically 100% of my friends are not tied to this business at all. I mean, we just hang out as normal people. That's why I love the Cherry Blossom Festival so much, is that it's a group of people that come together who are not enamored by their fame. They're willing to be there to have a good time, to meet people and enjoy the information they get and the interaction they get. That's the wonderful thing, and that's why Nicholas brings together people who have that quality. You know, it's not Hollywood. It's something that's completely different, and you connect with real people.
It's amazing.
And it is amazing. And you learn so much from people, and people care so much about other people. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll rally around if one of their friends is having an issue or a problem, they will rally and say, we're getting together and we're going to help. Right. You don't see that in Hollywood unless there's something in it for them.
Yeah, look at this whole thing with like Maggie Peterson.
Exactly.
You know, where does that kind of thing happen?
Yeah, it doesn't. And you know something? Maggie, the Hollywood community should have gotten together for Maggie. It should have. Yeah. But there's nothing in it for them. Nothing. And that's what you see.
Yeah. Yeah, if she had a name like Elizabeth Taylor or something, then you would see people come in droves.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And yet people from, you know, Nicholas's group of people and everybody that he's brought together will rally around and do whatever it takes. I mean, that's the difference. And look how many people from different walks of life that come together. I mean, it's not just TV and movie people. It's everybody. I mean, look at you. You provide something that's so amazing. I mean, it's so amazing when you do your art classes. It's so great. I would never get an opportunity to do that. And writers that have written books and relatives of presidents and people that you never ever see or meet.
I liken it to a Twilight Zone episode because the elements are so unrelated, and yet here in this little burg, Marshfield, you have people from all over the world and all different status of life.
That's exactly right. And you know something? Every single time I have been there, I have made friends. Mm-hmm. I literally made connections with people where for years in business in Hollywood and going on tours and doing all this kind of stuff, you never connect on a real, honest level with anybody. Right. You just don't. You just do your thing. You leave, you walk out the door, and you never see them again. You never speak to them again. But this is completely different. You're right. It is kind of surreal and like a fantasy novel or book where all these people come together.
Well, you had the president's descendants. We had Paul Burrell. We had Charles Lindbergh's grandson. Yeah. I mean, where do you get this?
I know, and to sit at afternoon tea with what was it, Truman's nephew?
Grandson, yes.
I mean, it was amazing, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, where in the world would I ever be able to do this? You
Right.
know?
And
And
nobody's guarded like, what do you want from me?
exactly. That's right. And
That's what makes
you
this
know
so
what
special.
though? I think Nicholas has a sixth sense about, he knows and he can tell the type of people. He can tell. And no matter how different they are, he has this way or this something that he can bring these people together, and there's just a wonderful connection. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's kind of like, has anybody ever asked you, if you could have dinner at a dinner party, who would you pick to be at your dinner party? And I keep thinking, wow, that's kind of like what this is, you know?
Yes, exactly. It is.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And not only do
yeah.
we get to have dinner, but we get to go to a hoedown afterwards.
That's right. That's right. It is. It's so amazing, and you know, this. I guess it's going to be different this year because it's all being done by video and phone and everything. But it'll get back to its
Well, I think
roots.
this may open up the publicity for it, that because it's online, people from all over the country can now, or all over the world, will be able to share into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it'll become a destination.
I think that if more people did this kind of thing, I mean, this kind of, you know, opening yourself up to other people and not caring, you know, about political situation or whatever it is. You don't even care. This is a wonderful person. I don't
Right.
care. I mean, it's sort of like, you know, you've got, who did we have that year, Joe? We had Bill Clinton's cousin, and
Yes.
then somebody who was completely politically opposite, and we're all laughing and joking and going to
Yeah.
the fiddle fest, and it's like, this is the way life should be, you
Right.
know? It just is. I mean, there's so much, I don't know, there's just a lot of distress in the world, and we need more. We need more of this. We
Well,
need
and I
more.
think what is also very helpful is that it brings out our history, which, if we want to move ahead as a nation, we need to remember our past,
Oh, of course we
grow
do.
from it. And,
Absolutely.
and this allows people to see our presidents on a personal level,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then also understand how certain things have evolved.
Yeah. Boy, that is the truth. It really is. And you know, the great thing too is when you listen to the stories and the family, you know, the family stories on the panels and things
Yes.
that none of us ever knew. I mean, you can see that there was vulnerability in those people as well. They had issues they had to deal with. They had, you know, challenges that they had to overcome, and somehow it's almost like it's a story of a country that literally has overcome everything that's been put in its path.
Right.
And there's always a challenge, but somehow we as a group of people, you know, in this country, we somehow pull together, and it continues, you know. It's just an amazing thing, and that comes to light when you go to the Cherry Blossom Festival, because you get to hear these things, and you get to, you know, you get to hear things that you would never know, you know.
Yes. So what's next for Morgan Brittany?
Well, I'm just kind of hanging out here in California.
Well, when this thing is over.
When this is all over, I've got a lot of picking up to do. I got to head back to Atlanta and make sure everything is good back there. And I've got some projects. I'm actually thinking about sitting down and putting down my stories. Not a you know, an autobiography of my life, but just anecdotal stories about the funny things that have happened in the business and who I've worked with, and, you know, kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I'm putting all that together at this point, and I've got my kids, my family, everybody, and Jack's been home, so it's been great because usually he's gone. But yeah, there's a lot of things to do. I'm always busy with something, and people are always calling me up and saying, "Hey, would you like to be a part of this?" And so it's great.
How do you see this pandemic thing? How do you see the entertainment business coming out?
Oh, Joe, they're panicking. They are panicking because they can't put out any product. And the way that our world is these days, new product has to be out constantly. And so everything shut down in March, like the early part of March. They sent people home from, all the locations around the world. And they've been literally sitting and trying to figure out what they're going to do to get product out there. And things are going to be a lot different because Hollywood is a lot more, how do I say it, fearful or I don't know. They're a lot more afraid of everything than the rest of the country.
That's why they do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, they're really afraid. Like I heard someone yesterday. She's an intimacy coordinator. Okay.
Oh, yes.
The Me Too movement they now have to have these intimacy people whenever you have a love scene on film, and she was basically saying there will be no more love scenes, no more touching, no more getting within. And I'm laughing. I'm going, oh yeah, that's going to last about 5 minutes. But I mean, seriously, they're talking about, well, we can't have makeup artists. They're in their face. They're doing their hair, and all these people are saying, well, yeah, but I've worked with a lot of people who've had the flu too, and
Right.
and I'm okay. So they overreact because they're very dramatic, and so everything is 1,000 times more difficult to overcome. But I think they're just going to have to. They're going to have to do it. That's all there is to it, and hopefully, I heard somebody the other day who was saying, well, the love scenes are out of movies, or the sex scenes are out of movies, and this guy said, well, maybe that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
He says, get rid of a little of that smut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions for you.
That's it, huh? I think we did well.
Well,
good information. Thanks for the questions, because I never get asked questions like that, really.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, thank you, Morgan Brittany, for spending your time with us today.
Hey,
Stealing
Joe.
you away from the busy crowds of LA.
Oh, I'm just sitting out here at my house, so I'm not really. Everybody's kind of locked down, so we're okay. Thanks for everything, Joe. I appreciate it. I wish I could see you all, and but we will. We will get through this. This too shall pass, right?
You bet. You bet.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank you so much.
In closing, we'd like to thank all of you again for watching, and we'd like to encourage you to stay connected to the Cherry Blossom Festival through our Facebook page and website. Our Facebook page is Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Mo, and our website is cherryblossomfest.com. There you'll find more panels and interviews and pictures representing the best of American history. And we hope to see all of you here in Marshfield next year as we celebrate the 15th Cherry Blossom Festival.